Hello and welcome to Book Talk with me, your host. My name is Cody Seingdahl. I am the author that you know. I was going to do a cold open, but I'm still getting used to uh, how to run this channel and how to run my show. And I've been learning a lot from watching other YouTubers. But I never want this to be too formalized, I guess. This is more of a casual talk here amongst friends. So my name is Cody C. Engdahl. I'm the author of 5 novels. I'm getting far ahead in my 6th novel, the the French Fiasco, which is probably going to come out. I'm looking at early next year, but one of the things I decided to do was to not um, give myself any hard deadlines. I have a goal of I would like to have a book out at least once every calendar year. I missed what did I miss? 2023. I think 2023 I didn't have a book out. I had a book that came out at the end of 2022, and I had a book that came out at the beginning of 2024. Nothing in 2023, but that's okay. These are artificial goals. To me, I think that the time between books for an author, and this is my opinion. This is what the show's about. I'm on a path of being an independent author, which gives me a lot of leeway of what I write and creative control and scheduling and doing all my own marketing, which I really enjoy. I mean, I think marketing. By the way, I had Poison Ivy. That's why I'm scratching myself. Also, I am struggling tonight with allergies. They've been they really kicked me into the dirt today. Been exhausted. My lymph nodes are all swollen. I have a sore throat. So we'll see how long I can go. I had to beg off going to dinner with my dad and his friends because I just wasn't feeling well. My ear is plugged up. You don't want to hear all about my problems. But anyway, I wanted to be able to talk to you guys, and I wanted to get back on schedule and try to be doing a live around once a week. And I didn't finish what I was saying before. When it comes to publishing books, for me, other people are different. Some people like to put out 2 a year. Some people, I've heard of people at a neck break pace of 1 a month. I can't imagine the quality of that being really great. But what do I know? But I like to have people have enough time in between the books. So my goal is I think the soonest is about 9 months, but I don't want to go any longer than 2 years. So as long as I get it in within 2 years, but don't worry about, I'm definitely going to get this one in well within, probably within a year from when I got the last one out, which is about the pace I want to go. Well, anyway, let's talk about it. So my next book is called the French Fiasco, and it picks up it picks up a couple of years after the Prussian Prince, and I immediately started writing it shortly after I put out the Prussian Prince, and the subject matter is the background is the Franco-Prussian War, and we get into it, and we get into some of the battles, and it's a really great time, and so. Early on, I created a mock-up of a cover that I wanted to do for the French Fiasco, and I was pretty happy with it. I was like, what's great is that I write 19th century, and there was a lot of great painters during the 19th century, and a lot of that artwork is in public domain. So it's an amazing gift for me because I can find things that I can use. And even in, let's see, when did I start doing this? Even with Blood for Blood at Nashville, I was using public domain paintings to depict the Battle of Nashville. And of course, Mexico, I love. The cover of that is a famous painting. It's a public domain painting. It's the Battle of Chapultepec, which is featured in that. The cover from the Prussian Prince is the Battle of Königgrätz, which is featured in my novel. And then I found Well, let's share because no one just wants to look at my ugly face. Share screen. All right, there we go. See if I'm still on here. Yeah, so I found the one on the left is a painting about the Battle of Mars Latour, and I believe those are. I got. We'll take a better look at these, but these are the men on horseback are Prussian dragoons, and these men here with the red kepi hats, those are Frenchmen. And as you can see, the dragoons are doing a saber charge into a mix of fleeing. I mean, look at this guy panicking right here. I really like this painting. And then I found another one that I started using as the background for my computer. And a lot of times when I'm writing, I like to take a painting that's from the era or the event that I'm writing about to kind of inspire me. And I did this when I was writing Civil War, and I did when I was writing the Mexican War, and I did it during the Austro-Prussian War, the last book. So the one on the right, I can't remember the name of the painting, and I'm not sure exactly what this is depicting. This is a small part of a much larger painting. And I believe what it is that the French who are on the left side of the screen of that picture have a supply convoy, and they're ambushed by Prussians who are using this burned out building as cover. And so the Prussians are on the other side of the building, and you can see the French are desperately trying to hold them back. So anyway, I liked it so much, and I thought, this really, I mean, they're both great. And the French Fiasco, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say that the main protagonist is running from the Prussian army as they are pushing into France. And if you don't know much about the Franco-Prussian War, most of it was fought in France. And even though the French declared war on Germany or Prussia at the time and had plans were chanting, to Berlin and had plans on fighting and marching all the way to Berlin and knocking out Prussia. And the reason why we call it, this war is the last time where Prussia is a separate kingdom from the rest of what we now know as Germany, because this is the third war of the German unification, which means by the time the Prussians finish this war, they have united all of Germany minus Austria into one nation. And most of that nation is intact today, is what we know as not newly, but the reunited Germany that came back in the late 80s after World War II, and Germany split in two once again. So that's the basic premise, and I wanted the book to be. The book is kind of like, a paranoid, frantic. Imagine like feeling like you're being hunted and your enemy is constantly at your heels, and that's. So I wanted to. I think there's a song by Live Nation. Let me see if I can pull that up on my. Bad Wolf. Yeah, AWOL Nation. And the song's called Bad Wolf. And I wanted this song. This song was kind of I better not play it because I'll get copyright strike. I just realized that. But, in the song, the guy sings about waking up on the Bad Wolf's hit list, and at one point towards the end of the song he's screaming, "They will never find me here. They will never find me here." And I like the idea, the desperate paranoid over the song, and I wanted to capture that in a novel. So that's what's going on. Is one of the characters is being hunted by Prussian hussars, and as he's being hunted, he goes on this adventure that takes him through France and takes him through, and there's intrigue. There's a romantic story going on there. There are duels. There's all sorts of things. There's reversals, surprises. There are heroes. There are people. There are enemies that become friends. There are friends that become enemies. There are people who have been in the previous novels that make an appearance, and I think there's going to be a lot of surprises for people. So what I want is that the cover to depict this frightened, paranoid terror of running from the Prussians. So what I did is, so anyway, I was happy with the one on the left, and that was going to be the cover, and I was very proud of it. But then I liked this picture on the right so much that I decided to make a second mock-up, and I like that one a lot too. And I think maybe it even shows some of the desperation more and the craziness. So, if you didn't know, everything I'm doing online is book marketing, which I love it. I love being the head of my own marketing agency, and part of what I'm learning is engagement with my friends online, the people who follow me on all different platforms. So I put it out to everybody, and I asked on multiple platforms and multiple pages and groups, and we're going to go over some of the response I had. I put that out a few weeks ago, and then I did it again. I decided I have an email list, which I'm trying to build. It's been growing. It started off with like maybe 5 people. It's up to 24. If you would, please, down in the notes below, sign up for my email list, and I promise you, I'm not going to mess with you. I'm not going to write stupid emails like, it's summer and summer always reminds me of when my mom used to make. No, none of that. I'm going to tell you when something's on special. I'm going to tell you if I'm going to be appearing somewhere to do a book signing, or if a new book is coming out, or I might ask you which one do you like. So I put out today an email. I've gotten, I think about 24% have opened it. I haven't gotten any emails back, because what I'm looking for is engagement. Because if people email me back and say, I like this one or that one, that tells their email server that, hey, this guy is not spam. They're interacting. And that's one of the things I learned that you want to do if you're an author or any kind of marketer and you're running an email list. Try to get some interaction with your people. First of all, you want interaction because you truly want to talk to your readers and your friends and the people who like to read your book, because you want to hear what they like and what's working, what's not working. And also part of it is bringing people into the process so they can feel like they're a part of it. The pitfall I feel, though, is that now that I put it out to everybody, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, is that half the people are going to be disappointed because I'm going to pick one or the other, and people have made good cases for both. So I put this out as an email today. I haven't gotten any responses, and then I said, well, if I put it out in an email, everything that's an email is easily a blog post too. So I put it out as an email, I put it out as a blog post, and then I shared the blog post out on my social media. Constantly kind of churning and repurposing, not only just repurposing my content, but really getting true feedback. What do people like, and what do they look, and what works and what doesn't work. And I'm going to read you what the email was, which is also a blog post. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to show you some responses in different places. I'm going to show you responses on my Facebook profile page, which is probably my biggest platform. I have over 3,000 followers there. Thank you, everybody who follows me there. But I also shared it in a group that's for authors, and so I got a lot of feedback from other authors, and we'll read some of their feedback. There is a group that I belong to called Military Thriller Book Club, and most of it is other authors as well that write military fiction and military thrillers, plus readers. And then there's a group that is dedicated to the Second Empire and the Franco-Prussian War, and I got a lot of feedback, and that group has been very helpful, especially in this latest sequence story arc that I've been writing. Where I am in my writing is that Emperor Louis Napoleon III, who went out to lead the French armies, has been a complete disaster, and now he's fleeing, and he leaves the city of Metz, and he's on his way. He's going to end up at Sedan, but before that, he's trying to get to Verdun, and then from there he gets to Chalons. But a lot of things happen, including a near capture, and that fed into the plot of my book. So I went to this group that is about the Second French Empire and the Franco-Prussian War, and asked, and I'm telling you, I had Frenchmen, literal Frenchmen, send me photographs of inns and homes in which the emperor stayed during that brief flight from Metz to Chalons, and all these little villages. Unbelievable. I had people say, hey, anything you need, I'll go out and get it for you. I live here. I mean, it's amazing just how kind and helpful people are. And that's what I really love about history, is because I write historical fiction, but I always make sure that the historical part of my books are true. And so that's one of the reasons why it takes me so long. One of the reasons I can't, I mean, I could if I I had to, but it's one of the reasons why I'm not putting out, wow, there's a big crane walking in my dad's backyard right now. I'm in Florida. Because I put so much research and I tie my fictional story so close to the real history that the real history is half the plot. And I always make sure that that part is absolutely true. So when you read the battles and all that. And just to catch you up where I am right now, I just crossed over 57,000 words, which means I broke the barrier of what my first novel was, word count wise. I'm trying to get right around 80,000 words. But at this point where I am in the story, I'll probably go over that, but I want to be somewhere around 80,000 words. I think and just to give you some reference, my first book, Rampage on the River, was 56,000 words. My second book, The Perils of Perry Bill, was 69,000 words. And then Blood for Blood at Nashville was 119,000 words. So I overshot the mark. And then Mexico, My Love was 124,000 words, which I really overshot the mark. And then The Prussian Prince, where I was trying to get closer to 80 again, was about 76. So I'm trying, 80 is the magic number. If I get anywhere between 70 and 90, I'm going to consider it a win. I'm going to try to keep it under 100,000 words. If it turns out to be another 120,000 word book, so be it. But I'm trying to be disciplined and tighten that up. So let's get into the business. So I'm going to read you what I wrote in my blog post and my email. You can follow along here. By the way, once again, first of all, please give me a like and vote for which picture which cover you like in the comments. A, I sincerely want to hear your opinion. B, all that engagement gets me more algorithm juice, so that and the whole idea is I want to reach out to people who are interested, who want to come along the ride with me. And you personally, you individual, we're going to be doing this for a long time. I'm not that old. I am going to be writing for the rest of my life. I have several books. I have the next 10 books already planned out. Let's see, we're doing. So I've already written 5, right? So we're doing the Franco-Prussian book, right? Then we're going to do a book about Black James, the pirate. We're going to do a Mideastern adventure. We're going to do a Western. We're going to do a Japanese book. We're going to do a World War I book. And then that's going to be the end of this series. But I have a book after that that's going to take place during between the wars in Germany that I have planned out. I want to do a Haitian Revolution book. I have an idea for an American Revolutionary book. I might get into the French. I mean, I think my favorite wars to cover or to study just for fun as a reader are the Napoleonic Wars. I think are my favorite. I'm also a big fan of the War of the Roses in England in the 1400s. I think those are my two favorite things, and the things leading up to. I like the Henriade from Shakespeare. All right, so here is my my blog. If you want to follow my blog, I don't have a direct link, but if you go to any of my Facebook or Twitter, whatever, you'll see it. And I got a good following there. I do. I have people that specifically follow me there and like everything I put up. I do a lot of book reviews there. So, Paul, which cover art do you like? These are the two mock-ups for my next novel. So which do you like, A or B? So I think you can get most of it here. So A, it has amber colors, and I hope this comes out well on yours. My computer is a refurb Mac. I've been buying them for the longest time, since the beginning of the 21st century, and I've been happy. This one is a real lemon. The monitor died. I cried and moaned about it, and they finally replaced it for free. And then this new one's going bad, and it makes it so I can't judge color very well. So it makes doing graphics very hard. So when I do, these are mock-ups. When I do them for real, I'll do a little better job. So the one on the left, that is the Battle of Mars-la-Tour. I'll be honest with you. The Battle of Mars-la-Tour happens in my book, but it's in the background. So this scene isn't specifically depicted in the book, but it's happening as the emperor is fleeing. However, I do have great cavalry charge scenes in my book, just not specifically this one. So that man is, I think that's a prince. I can't remember his name, but he's a hussar, and he's famous. And this is a famous charge during the Battle of Mars-la-Tour. And as you can see, these guys down here, they are freaking out. There's a great picture that I might use on the back cover, even if I use the other one, of there is a drummer who is trying to run, and there's a French drummer trying to run, and his sergeant, a French sergeant, is grabbing him by the neck, pushing him back, telling him, "Turn around and fight, you coward." And the face on this drummer is like pure raw terror and panic. It's great. But I love this because this is a mosh pit. And look at this guy just riding into these guys who are freaking out, running for their lives as the Prussians come, just butchering their way through. Pretty awesome. Or do you like B? And this is the one. I like this one because I feel like the one on A is more amber colors. It's got warmer tones. It's got a great backdrop for the title. The title, the font is kind of a branding. That's kind of non-negotiable because it's branding. It's the font I've been using for all my books, so that when you see that font, you're getting a Cody Siangdahl book, and it's part of the Long Century. So this one I love, like these guys, and there's a face in here. I don't know if I can make it out, but there's a face that I feel like that looks like me. And if you saw the whole painting, there was a face over here that looks like my nephew Gunther. But here you see these are Frenchmen. A lot of people are like, is that Civil War? No, it's mid 19th century. Everybody was wearing basically the same uniform as the Union. Blue uniforms with kepi hats were very popular in many of the militaries. Um, so here's what I wrote. I want to convey a frantic paranoia as the main character desperately tries to outrun the Prussian onslaught through France during the Franco-Prussian War. Which of these do you think conveys this the best, and why do you think so? I'd love to hear your opinion. This book takes place after the Prussian Prince, which is out now. And of course, right there is a hyperlink, so you can go buy it. Although all my books are connected, you don't need to read them all or in order to enjoy any of them. So jump in where you like. There are American Civil War novels, a Mexican American War novel, and an Austro-Prussian War book too. And I will say, time-wise, this series spans from the Mexican American War all the way to World War One. And the order the books were published and should be read, but you can read them in any order, is that you read the trilogy about the American Civil War, then you read the prequel, which is book 4, that goes back into time. It's about the main character's parents, how they meet, fall in love, and run away together and end up in the Mexican-American War. And then book 5 happens after the American Civil War, in which Carl comes home, let's just say the main character, I already screwed up, comes home to his wife and finds out that she has fled back to Germany, and he goes to Germany to be with her, which at this time is the Kingdom of Prussia, and ends up in the Austro-Prussian War. And so the book coming out now is the book that comes after that. So there's a trilogy, Americans of War, a prequel that's a Mexican-American War, and then a sequel, which is the Austro-Prussian War, the Franco-Prussian War. Then we're going to leave that timeline for a minute, and then we're going to go back to before the War of 1812 to Africa. And we're going to start, we're going to do a character-driven novel, which I have not done yet, but it's going to be about Black James. And if you read the trilogy, he's mentioned throughout the trilogy. He's the father of Elijah and Liza. You meet him in Mexico, My Love, because he becomes a pirate. And that's the first time. And I'm just telling you, if you haven't read Mexico, My Love, when Black James comes into the narrative, it is utterly badass. And I've always had this planned that then I'm going to do this great pirate novel. It's going to be interesting because it's going to be post golden age of piracy. But a lot of, when I was a little child, I was obsessed with like history and swords, and I always felt like I was born too late. And so there's like this nostalgia in my books because the age of swords and swashbuckling and honor is in its twilight, and it probably ends at World War II. And so you're reading like the last hurrah of heroic swashbuckling adventure with swords and honor and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's go on. Currently, I've written over 57,000 words for the French Fiasco. I'm shooting for about 80,000, but I may go over. It's a great story full of twists, turns, and surprises, plus a lot of real history and historical characters from the Franco-Prussian War. I just finished writing a great fight scene as the Emperor is trying to escape from the city of Metz. I'm just about done with chapter 19. I plan to have the book out early next year, but I'm not holding myself to any hard deadlines. This is one of the luxuries of being an independent like me. What's most important to me is that I give you a great book full of adventure, romance, and well-researched history. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, man. I mean, if that's not what I'm doing, then I should quit. That's what I'm here to do. I think you're going to like it. No, I'll tell you this. I think you're going to love it. I'm having a blast writing it, and I'm learning so much in the research, which is true. Thanks for hanging in there, and I appreciate your input. And then check out my novel here. And there's hang on. Okay, great. since I got some free time here, I'm gonna have a video date with my girlfriend, and then of course, everything's marketing. So at the end of that, you can read a preview of the novel that's out right now. So that's the setup there. Oh, we got Lloyd. Hey, Lloyd, how you doing? Lloyd Elmore Jr. is a great author. If you like the Twilight Zone and you like Stephen King, check him out. Here's his here's how you spell his name. Let's see if I can do this. So Lloyd said, I still love the first one a bit. Lloyd, do you mean the first one like Rampage on the River? Because if that's true, I love hearing that because I feel like my books get better and better as I go. But by saying that, I don't want anybody to think that Rampage is not good. I think Rampage is a great book and I love it. All right, let's see here. Lloyd says, not too late, born at the right time to make sure no one forgets. Thank you very much, Lloyd. I am the last swashbuckler. And then Lloyd says, "A." Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that, Lloyd. Thank you. So let's get into some of the response I've got. Let's see, share screen. So I think I've set this up pretty well. Let's try this one. All right. So first of all, I'm going to show you from my own page. Okay. So I posted this. And I got 66 comments. I got 6 shares. Well, some of those are mine. So let's do all. No, I don't want to do newest. Dang it! I want to do all. Why do they even do this? They constantly change how you do things, and that's what drives me crazy. Like you think you know how to do stuff, and then all right, let's go with this. All right, so Yvonne Saunders, she's Mrs. Claus. She and her husband do Mr. and Mrs. Claus. I know them from Massacre Station. They're historical reenactors, and they do a great thing. They hire me to come play fiddle for a lot of their events, and they do a great thing. They live out near Smithville, Tennessee, and they are like professional Santa and Mrs. Santa players, and they do a great thing out there in Smithville because a lot of kids don't get this. There's not a mall to go to, so they invite. It's open. They put out all this advertisement. It's open. They open their home. Their home is like going to the North Pole. It's all decked out. It's Santa and Mrs. Santa. Everybody's invited. It's the public, and what's beautiful, you see these like Mexican families. They don't even speak English, and they're bringing their kids to see Santa. Impoverished people, everybody. They come there. They're so excited. I go play fiddle. It's wonderful. So Yvonne says they both look great, but possibly B. William Wheelock says World War I next. That would be awesome. And I responded to that. I was first of all that's what I love, seeing someone excited about my writing and having suggestions. And I said not next, but it's coming. And William, I've even written scenes from that book because that book is coming. I know it's going to be badass. It's going to be the end of the story. My phone's, that's my dad's phone. Lloyd Elmore Jr., who voted back then as well. Hard choice. Both are great, but I like the golden hour look of A. You're absolutely right. Lloyd's also like a filmmaker guy too, so he understands what the golden hour is. He's a cinematographer himself. Matthew Harvey, very successful British writer, writes a lot of sword and shield stuff from medieval Britain. He's recently written a Western. What I love about Matthew, first of all, he's a very successful author, treated me like an equal from the very early days of my writing career. Always helpful. When I needed advice from someone who, when I was dealing with an agent and I needed advice from someone who knew the game, he was like, absolutely. We did a video conference. I've been on his podcast. Love him. He says, A, the title is clear. That's true. The background. But the one thing I will say is that, this is my big fat excuse, right? My monitor is broken, and I have a so it's hard for me to see it clearly. When I do it, I'm going to do it on my girlfriend's computer or another computer. I can do things like um, darken the background behind the font so that the font pops out. I can fix that. Robert Spivell, Robert, I hope I'm saying that name right. Robert is a great guy. He and I believe his wife, have come out to see me play multiple times. They've bought all my books. Robert's also from Detroit and a Tiger fan like me. He says, he goes, also, I agree, text clear. Yes, that is a very good point. Eric Shantz. I love Eric. Eric and I played. Eric is a wonderful guitar player. Lives up in Detroit. Really lives in Milford. And his son married my niece, and I played fiddle, and he played guitar. And my niece asked us to play together, and I don't like playing with musicians I don't know, because there's a million guitar players out there, and they go from guys like me who suck to guys who are awesome. So I didn't know what I was going to get in Eric Shantz, if he was going to play the tunes in the same key, if he could even play. I almost like I'd rather just play by myself, because at least I know how I can hold it down by myself. But if I play with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, it's going to throw me off. Eric is an amazing guitar player. Oh my God, I wish he lived here or I lived there, because Eric and I would be rocking balls out right now. All right. Elaine Oakley Kane says, A, the title is easy to read. Yeah, that's a point well taken. Bob Dorigo Jones, a friend of my dad. I like B. The picture seems to say fiasco more to me. I agree. I don't have a problem with the title, but making it stand out more wouldn't be a bad idea. And then I'm going to finish this one with my good friend and fellow author, Stephanie Churchill Ling. And I'll tell you why her opinion is very important to me. She says, but I do like the artwork of B a bit more personally. Stephanie is the one who designed the cover for Rampage on the River and the Perils of Perryville. She is also an author. I read the first book of her trilogy, and it was very good. I've read of her reviews. They get better and better. She does what they call historical fantasy. I would have just called it fantasy, but I guess it's historical fantasy because I don't really know what makes historical fantasy and fantasy different. But I can tell you that her book is medieval, but it just doesn't belong to any of our medieval history. So it's like a made-up world, but there's not sorcerers and magic, at least not in the first book. So I recommend her as well. And she's the very early lesson that I learned that authors. I've learned this, and I've done my best to emulate it and keep doing it. Authors are awesome. The writing community is fantastic. It's just full of people that help you, and I do the same thing. I promote other people. There are several authors that I've helped coach, not on writing. People know how to write. I've coached them on either publishing through KDP on Amazon or in marketing. All right, I'm going to cut it off there because I want to go on to some of these other ones. So that was just on my page, and quite a I got great friends and quite a bit of insight there. Let's try another one. We're going to do let's see. Let's see here. Stop and then present. And share screen. Okay, we're going to try this here. All right, so I also put this on. Okay, so this page is the author ad school. This is Brian Cohen's 5-day author challenge. Brian Cohen is a book marketing guru. I highly recommend everything he does. He's got Sell More Books podcast. He's got a multi-tiered agency. So if you are just beginning or a low-level author, he's got author ad school. He's got a tier called Pathfinders for those who make at least 1,000 or more a month, and then he's also got another tier that his agency handles your marketing if you're making like 5,000 a month or more. And I'm going to make another drink, so I'm going to take you with me. Yes, I'm drinking. It's to help my great pain and suffering with my. Can you see me? But anyway, he's got. Hang on a second. Let me just get some ice. Don't go anywhere. Dang it. This thing, I can never get it right. I forgot to put orange in my old fashioned. I like to drink old fashions. What's an old fashioned? Well, it's one of those things that it's a very standard old drink, but you can make variations upon the original. So we're gonna do a little bit of orange, kind of a bit of orange. I'm gonna do cherry. Reminds me of the Shirley Temples I used to get at Dead Lobster when I was a kid. Some simple syrup, which is just sugar water. I just do 4 teaspoons, 2, 3, 4. I'll do some whiskey. I'm drinking Evan Williams. It's cheap and it's good. It's better than Jack Daniel's, half the cost. And they say it's the oldest bourbon in America. I think they since 1783. I'll take that. Shortly after the Revolution. Cheers, my friend. I stayed home because I'm not feeling well, and my dad, he was in hospice. It's getting better. He might actually just start just living, And I figured I'd give him a chance to go out with his friends so they can talk politics and all that stuff where I don't feel like I have to defend myself. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So this is other authors. I'm gonna close that. Here's the opinion of other authors. I'm gonna close that. And all right, author ads, cool. Let me just make sure that we're both seeing. I hope none of these people mind that I'm sharing this. So let's do. All right, Jeff Kerr. These are all authors now. People who sell books themselves who are taking this course to learn more marketing. Jeff Kerr says the one on the left catches my eye more because of the guy on the horseback. I agree. That guy is the focus. I think he's a Bavarian prince. I know those are Royal Dragoons, and I think it's a Bavarian cavalry squad. I said Phyllis Moore, myth writer. Genre doesn't matter. You want your name and title to dominate. Too much stuff in the background takes away from that, which is most important, your name and title. Okay, that's good advice. God dang it, I don't want to message anybody. I just want to see more. JP Baston says B makes the conflict look much more personal. I agree. If you haven't noticed, I like both of them. I personally am leaning towards B. My allergies are killing me. But Andis Brevage Richard says the left, the other is too busy. I can understand that. Lynn Bordansky, Christian author, says the title pops more on the left one. Yeah, that's true. Jean Oates Estridge, author, says A because the title gets lost in the background. That's a lot of people are saying that. B, John Wheatley says B, more dramatic. Marilyn R. Wilson says definitely B. Linda Rees says A. Elaine Kelly says A is easy to read, even in the thumbnail. Dominique M. Snedeker says both. Well, thanks a lot, Dominic. No, truly though, it's hard to it's hard to decide which one is. This is the reason why I'm asking. All right, Now that is authors. Okay, let's try another group. I also shared this in a group called the Military Thriller Book Group, and a lot of the people here are authors and a lot of readers. What makes these people different is that these are more focused on military stuff. Okay. So Jack Lively says B is more inviting because of its color and thus more interesting. And B also depicts a war happened later as compared to A, which is more ancient. I don't quite. Steve Lepper, this is his group, says B. Mick Williams says the B cover is better, but the title blends in too much. Yeah, so definitely, if I do B, that comment is pretty prevalent. So we will definitely fix that. B draws my eyes and is visually interesting. A feels like a cover I've seen 1,000 times. A uses cover space better. That's true. A, at quick glance, I thought B was the American Civil War. That I can see that because the uniforms are so similar. So Pat Barling says B. Michael Benecker says B. And then I'm going to blush. Griff Husker, I hope I'm saying his name right, is a very famous, very successful historical fiction author. He says A. I'm like, I cannot believe that Griff Husker is commenting on my book, man. Thank you, Griff. I love you. So yeah, I'm absolutely starstruck by Griff Husker. All right, one more group, and then we'll start wrapping this up. So I'm gonna, all right, and each of these groups I think is interesting because the people that that are there are a different subset. So this group here is the Franco-Prussian and Second Empire. So this is a Facebook group that is into the Franco-Prussian War. So these are potentially my readers. And I will tell you this, two things. First of all, several of the people in it were like, I'm interested in your book. Please let me know when it comes out. So this is, marketing. The other thing is, at least two of them are authors themselves. And one of them just is putting out his own novel about the Franco-Prussian War. Unfortunately, it's in Swedish. And I don't speak Swedish, even though my last name is Swedish. Another guy put out one, and it's $3.99 on Kindle. I'm going to read it. I'm going to give him a 5-star review. And I will be sharing that with you guys, both in blog form and on here. So that's coming because I want to read as much as I can. Both, I'm reading. I have a lot of sources, but there's 3 main books that I'm reading. The Richard Howard book on the Franco-Prussian War, which is very famous. I think it was written in the 1960s. The Waru, I can't remember his first name. It's also a nonfiction Franco-Prussian book. And then there's a book about Napoleon III biography that I'm also using as a reference. And then, but I'm also reading like Emily Zola's The Debacle. It's also known as The Downfall in English. That's a big fat book, but it's good. The picture, he's a naturalist. It was written in 1893 or something like that. And he's a naturalist, and naturalists like to over describe everything, which can be really boring as far as a novel is concerned, but great for an author because it really gives you deep visuals and textures that you can use. And he's a man who wrote this book just a little less than 20 years from when it happened. That's like me writing a book right now about like 2002. I was there. I know what it was like. It wasn't much different from, today. All right, so let's do this. very excited about this. So, and then another guy pointed out a book that was written in the 70s, and I'm going to read that too. So there's two Franco-Prussian. There's not a lot of Franco-Prussian novels out there. So I don't have which is good and bad. It's good because I don't have a lot of competition. And it's bad because if people were interested, like I always say, repeat after me: Romans, Vikings, and Nazis. There are more books about Romans, Vikings, and Nazis than anything else because they're the most popular in historical fiction. Franco-Prussian War, not so much. So I'm probably writing a book that only my own personal readers are going to enjoy, but you never know. Okay, so John McCagle, John, please forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong. McCaggy, maybe. John and I interact quite a bit. We're Facebook friends. He's a very nice guy and very almost intimidatingly so well-read, knowledgeable guy. So, I mean, it's guys like him that I work so hard in my research because I never want to disappoint someone like John. John says, and here's case in point right here. I'm biased. The Death Ride is my favorite painting of this period. Okay. So I believe that this battle, this scene here is from Mars La Tour, in which a German cavalry commander was basically ordered to do a suicidal charge. That's much like the charge of the Light Brigade of the Crimean War of 1856. It was a suicidal charge. I believe my understanding is that it was successful because the Germans were able to use the negative space in the undulating fields so that they could get underneath the guns of the French. And by all means, they had no business of succeeding in that charge, and yet they did. And it's one of the last great charges, cavalry charges. Andy Sharp says, both amazing pieces of art. I would go with A, as the title is better centered and shows the French army more in distress than B, and considering the title of your work would seem more appropriate. That's an interesting take, Andy, because because that's definitely what my goal is. I just personally thought that B did that better, but I see your point. And by the way, there is no right or wrong in this. This is why I'm asking, because both of them are good. Robert J. Biondi says, my vote is for cover B. Cheers. Matthias de Hessine, I think that's a French name. Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of... The French are ornery, man, and they're testy, and they get offended. And I don't mean to offend any of the French. I love France. I love the French. Matthias, which is I think French for or Old World for Matt, says Anglo-Saxons enjoy so much to write fiasco after French, as they're obsessed with France. Ha ha! And and I wrote, I just like the alliteration. And then Thomas Spieben says, well, probably most popular and successful book on the fall of the Dejimi Empire has an even more sinister title, La Debacle by French writer Emile Zola, which I'm reading, by the way, and it is great. And to be fair, and then I wrote, I've been reading and enjoying it. To be fair, okay, I love France. I love the French, all that kind of stuff. Yay, France. The Franco-Prussian War was not a good time for French military. And what's truly a tragedy is that it's a war they didn't have to lose. And they could have easily won it in the opening days. But there was a lot of mismanagement. First of all, it's a war that should never have happened. And I won't bore you to death. the real reason of the war is that France was worried that Prussia was growing too strong. They call this what do they call it? The quadrille, which is an old European style dance, in which there were four superpowers, and that was Britain, France, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, and as long as all of them stayed equal, it's kind of like the the policy of mutual destruction of the nuclear age. As long as none of those five superpowers got too strong, there was a balance in Europe, and therefore, and at this time, Europe runs the world. And so France was very nervous about a unified Germany and was trying to do everything they could to stymie Prussia from doing that, because really unified Germany is a Prussian empire. And the Germans, the Prussians, needed a common, because they conquered the rest of Germany not through conquering, but by mutual victory, by bringing all the German kingdoms together as one to defeat a common foe, France, and that's why the war was truly fought. There's some talk about a Prussian prince becoming king of Spain and France, and who disrespected who with the Ems dispatch and all that kind of stuff. But that's the real reason why the war was fought. Prussia wanted to unite Germany against a common enemy, and France wanted to knock Prussia down before they got too big for the britches. Scott Leach offers a visual. He says, how about this? This is a painting of a French in retreat. I think that helmet, initially when I look at that helmet, I'm thinking Cuirassier, which is heavy cavalry, but it might be an Uhlans, which is a lancer as well. Kind of love the uniforms. I mean, that's what's so delicious about this era. All right, let's see here. What else we got? Atle Jensen says, I like B. Kurt Lambert says B. Jules. Okay, so here's another one. Here's another Frenchman. And I actually wrote in French because I don't want the French to think I'm picking them. So Jules André Victor, Jules, please forgive me if I'm not saying your name right. And he wrote this in French, and I'm not going to pronounce it correctly because my reference for Latin language is Spanish. But he says B. Mais fiasco with exclamation, question marks, and an unhappy face. He's a Frenchman who thinks his country's being dragged. So I wrote, let's see here. So I wrote, I don't speak French. I'm studying it. I understand a little bit of it, but I translated. But I wanted to be respectful to this man, so I wrote my explanation and then had it translated to French, which is le fiasco apparent au person principal que est un Américain contraint au service de la puce. Je n'ai pas l'intention d'insulter la France ou l'Empereur, mon ami. I basically said it's fiasco because of the main character, who's an American who's been pressed into the Prussian service. It's not my intention to insult France or the Emperor. And Jules like that. So, I get it. I like I said, I'm not banging on. I love France. Vive la France. Daniel Jurek, Thomas Skibim is corresponding with a title depicting the obvious French route. A for Danny Fogelman. Peter Duru. A is my choice. Mike Price. B. which most reflects the novel. That's the one to pick. I said B. So I won't go any further with that. But so anyway, that's where that stands. I'll be honest with you. I'd like to hear your opinion if you watch this. I like B because I just feel like the mood of the novel is paranoia, fear, being running for your life from the desperate. I mean, both of them do it. So, haven't made my decision yet. If you watch this, please let me know. Like I said, so we'll just update. I'm staying in Florida. My father's in hospice, but he's getting better. I don't know. He might end up. His goal is to return to independent living. He might get there. Um, Problem is that he's not making enough red blood cells to sustain him, and even though I've fattened him up with my cooking, uh, he he's one more medical event from dying. Um, oh, the Commodore's voice! Hey, Commodore says B. Let me put that up there. The commander's voice says B. I agree with you, my brother. I do. I was on his podcast as well. I highly recommend it. You can find him on YouTube and everywhere you listen to podcasts. So the book, I passed over 57,000 words yesterday. Like I said, my shortest book was 56,000 words. My longest book was 124. I'm aiming for about 80,000. Where I'm in the story, I'm kind of finishing the second act. So I'm going to be beginning Act 3. My hope is that I get it done, that I finish the first draft in the fall. I'll spend 2 months editing myself and also sending it to my editors to do their work. One way or the other, either of those covers would be great. So the cover's done. I'll just have to touch it up a little bit, and hopefully we'll have that out early next year. I have found as an independent author that, contrary to popular belief, it's not good to launch a book around Christmas, because unless you're super famous and people are going to buy your book as a gift for someone else, it's better to come out in the new year. And it's because people don't buy things for themselves. No one's going to buy my book unless they're going to read it themselves. No one's going to buy it as a present. I mean, and I've literally had people buy my book as a present for someone else. That does happen, but not enough of that to make that a point, right? So the lesson that I have learned, because Mexico My Love came out right after Thanksgiving, like came out Black Friday, and The Prussian Prince came out February 4th of this year. So early next year, hopefully, maybe even right after Christmas, if I can get it done fast enough. Then we're gonna write we're gonna get off the Carliod storyline, which is the books that follow Carl's story, and we're gonna do a pirate book, but it's gonna be post Golden Age of Piracy. It's going to be after the Golden Age of Piracy, the end of piracy, with mid to late 19th century with Black James, who, if you read Mexico My Love, you've met him. He's awesome. I've had some AI. I've done some AI mock-ups of what he looks like, and I've got some really interesting results that are kind of close to how I see him in my mind. So that'll be the next book I write. And then, like I said, we're going to do like an Egyptian adventure with Carl. We're going to do a Western. That's going to bring, all these have been planned way back, that are going to bring back some of the old characters and bring in new ones. There's a Japanese end of the samurai, rise of the emperor, late 19th century Japan stuff. And then there's a World War One book, and that's going to be the end of that series. But like I said, there is a leading up to and possibly into World War II book I want to write, and then we're going to go back and we're going to do. I don't know if I'll do all these books, but I want to do a Haitian Revolution book that I have an idea for. I have an American Revolution book that I would like to do that I have a great idea for. And then after that, it depends on, I might just start getting smart and be a little bit more business savvy where I go. So I have two ideas. I have an idea that will be a French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars series. And I have another one that is more Eastern European Renaissance series. And that's all I'll say on that. So anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to call my girlfriend and have a romantic video date with her and cook my meal. And so I love you guys. If you, like I always wrap this up with is, all this is I love reading. I've always loved reading books. My father taught me that. My father's always been a novel reader. He's read all but the last book I wrote, and mostly because he's sick and it's hard for him to concentrate. And because I love to read, I love to write, and I'm writing the books that I want to read. And I love the old black and white swashbuckling movies of the 30s and 40s, and characters like Zorro and the Three Musketeers, and so it was always my intention to bring that kind of romantic adventurer, and to write more of that and to feed into that love that I have, and that's what's in all my books. And what I would like to say is that I don't even care if it's me. Writing is a tough business. It really is. And don't get into being an author if you're looking to get rich quick. It is not the get rich quick. Do some people win the lottery and do really well with book one? Yeah, but it's like winning the lottery. It really is. And there are better authors who never were successful in their lifetimes. And there are hacks that become successful really fast. So what I'm trying to say is that if you love to read and there's authors out there that you really like, and I don't care if it's me or someone else, go on to Amazon, give them 5 stars, write a nice review. It doesn't have to be extensive. It could be like, I really love this book, couldn't put it down. You're done. 5 stars, done. Do it on Goodreads. If they're British, do it on Waterstones as well. That helps them. But help your author. There's a lot of, there's nothing wrong with this, but there's a lot of people, because we live in the digital age and anybody can write a review. Sometimes people write very unfair reviews that, they're not professional critics. I mean, it's great though, because you get real people, but sometimes you get bad reviews for dumb reasons, unfair reasons. I've had people call me out for using language that they say someone wouldn't have said in that time, but I've done the research, man. They did say that phrase. That phrase actually goes back before even then. Even in Shakespeare's time, they were saying it. If they were saying it around the time of Shakespeare, I guarantee you they were saying it during the American Civil War. So all I'm saying is help us out. It's all about algorithm. Amazon stops suggesting your book to people when it dips under 4 stars. So give your authors 5 stars, write nice things about them, and keep reading. I love you guys. Thank you very much for paying attention. And I think I might find a good time. It's been hard for me because I'm taking care of my father, and 5 o'clock every day is cocktail hour. So he has his cocktail and his hors d'oeuvre. And then I make dinner, and I'm drinking the whole time. And by the time we're done with that, there's no time. It's hard for me to find, and it's so hot outside that it's hard to do it outside. But I think he might start going back to his social club on Thursday night. So I might try to make Thursday night the night that I do this. And I got some ideas for upcoming episodes. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't read any of my books, and you want to start, Rampage on the River is the obvious place to start. It's book one. If you're like, yeah, I'm not really into the Civil War, try Mess with My Love is a great book. I'm really proud of it. That is the most swashbuckly, romantic, globe-trotting adventure I've ever written. If you're interested in a lot of the European stuff, and the rise of Germany, because in some ways the series is gonna, track the creation of Germany and the march to World War One. You could go any of my books you could read without reading the other ones. Go read the Prussian Prince, which I believe does a really good job of explaining the Austro-Prussian War, why it was fought, and the Battle of Trottenau and the Battle of Königgrätz is in it, and it's when you read. I think I spent 5 chapters on Königgrätz, which is the most I've ever written about any battle. And I feel like if you read my depiction of Königgrätz, you're going to be able to speak with conviction about the real history of what happened at Königgrätz. That's my goal. My number one, I want you to enjoy yourself. Number two, I want you to be able to read my books and the historical aspects of it to be able to speak about with conviction, because you read something that was historic. My character may be fictional, but the way the battle goes and the things that happen in it and the historical characters in it, there's a lot of there's Austrian and Prussian historical figures participating in that battle that are in the book. You should have a pretty good idea. All right, so I'm going to go. Love you guys. Take care, and I'll see you hopefully within a week.